What's up, everybody? It's I, Ken Snake.
Greetings, everyone. This is CC Trainor-Ling.
What's going on, guys? It's James the Con Man, and I'm the man in the box.
Yes, you are the man in the box, and we have a hedgehog in a plastic bubble.
And a girl who believes too much in the Twilight knockoff, which I have dubbed Nightfall.
Interesting.
I'll be referring to it as such throughout this review, so...
So the plot here is Russell notices his quills have been pricking the other pets, but can't understand why. So he tries to prevent himself from hurting his friends with his quills again. Meanwhile, Blythe believes she has a disease known as Jerryberry, and along with a fascination to one of her books, she begins to think her life is in danger and isolates herself from the outside world. So it's up to the other pets to convince Blythe to help them out with Russell's problem and prevent their hedgehog friend from leaving the pet shop forever. My first positive in this episode would definitely have to be Zoe's expressions through dancing. Somehow it works for her. It only works for her. Vinny probably could have done it, but just Zoe, you know?
I mean, it kind of does make sense in a way. I mean, it would have made more sense for Vinny, since that's his thing, is dancing. But then I think at this point we're just pigeonholing characters into their simplest degree. I think Zoe herself by dance made most sense because, you know, it was her and Mingta who were with Blythe whenever she thought that she had a Jerryberry. But the way, it's a very amusing thing to say. You know, so it's a little random joke, but...
Perhaps her best dance is when she starts doing Hammer Time right before the first commercial. It's like, stop, Zoe time.
Just like Roger's Hammer Time.
Oh, yeah.
Next part. Theme song to what they call Annabelle and Brix's theme song, but I call it the theme to Nightfall. Which it's just I didn't know what it was at first because originally I saw it as a leak on YouTube channel that had like a bunch of season 2 song leaks.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I didn't know the context. I just saw, heard like some somewhat heavy rock metal theme and young me and Blythe screaming all through it.
Well, yeah, I guess I can say that the screaming was a bit excessive, but then again, who hasn't had those really screaming fanboy or fangirl moments about their favorite songs?
Or a theme song for a Twilight knockoff.
But just trying to imagine her going to a live concert and hearing this song right near the stage, I think the screaming wouldn't be able... It would be major screaming, okay?
Yeah, I would scream too.
The entire audience would be shaking to where it would pretty much just block out the actual music. Have you guys ever been to a concert where that happened? Where they play the most beloved song the band has ever done, and then whenever that starts, you can barely hear the music. Everyone just is like, yeah!
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, guys cheering, girls screaming, and Pepper puts her tail through her ears. The end.
Any other positives?
Yeah, I'm sure Bacon has plenty of his positives, but those will be coming up later on in the video.
I do have one other one.
Sure.
And this one is a more personal one, but I just thought of it, while we were doing this review. The ending was pretty decent, at least Blythe's ending.
Yeah.
Because on a personal basis, the cyberchondria. Reading about a disease on the internet, and then you believe you have those symptoms because you only have like one sign. In this case, 3 pimples forming a perfect triangle, which, led Blythe to believe she had Jerryberry.
Mm-hmm.
But, there's things where, a headache can be just as it is, a tension headache, or it could be indicative of, say, a brain cancer or meningitis or something. And there's a lot of people out there that can mistake a serious illness with a very common symptom. Same thing with, a runny nose. It could be a sinus infection, like poor Bacon has. It could be something a lot more severe, which I actually don't know if there are any more severe things. It could be a pretty nasty infection, but, I think that this is a case where, using some TV trope terms here, some anvils need to be dropped. Don't believe everything you see on the internet, and don't let your mind just wander and believe
of course.
Yeah.
You have those symptoms when really you don't. So, I kind of think that the ending did kind of pay off a bit.
Yeah. It definitely paid off with some bubble wrap.
Everything's better with bubble wrap.
Always. So now I guess we can move on to those negatives.
I'll start with the first negative, just like I always do.
Of course.
My first negative would more be a nitpick, and it's something I noticed immediately after the episode started. We see Blythe trying to put on a sweater, and My problem here is that you have a sweater and you have a freakishly large head, and you're trying to put the sweater on. Since the sweater is fresh and basically new, the head hole for the sweater would be tight. As Blythe is putting her head through the hole, the sweater would naturally stretch out and tear because it's at its limits in terms of stretchiness. And since the hole is stretched out for quite some time, it would stay that way for a while. After she gets her head through, we see her sweater look like normal, but I don't think it should look like that. The sweater should be all like torn up and stretched out at the top, and it should be stretched to the width of Blythe's head.
Need I remind you, sir, of Hey Arnold? The boy with a football-shaped head. How do you think he feels when he has to put a shirt on?
It should happen to him too.
But it's a football-shaped head!
Or you put the shirt on, or you put on the from your legs. You put it on opposite.
How?
That would be horribly
How do you put clothes on in the morning, Snake? I want to know. So then you slip the pants over your head to put them on your legs? Is that what you're telling me?
Both pants and shirts through your legs.
It's opposite day. It's opposite day here at the League of Petshoppers.
Well, maybe Snake Day, but...
Ekans Day.
Ekans Day. Ekans 2015.
But anyway, need I remind you also in the same episode we got a similar joke with Sunil trying to peek into Russell's sort of self-enclosure.
Yeah.
Self-imposed isolation there. And even makes note of it, somewhat breaking the fourth wall. So that one I don't think is as extreme as what you were saying, because it is shown that his ginormous head kind of compromised the integrity of the structure. So
Let the record show that everyone in that universe has a giant head.
Agreed.
Giant head and small bodies.
None of them have a cephalitis.
So my next negative, I don't understand how Blythe could possibly think she has Jerryberry and have never heard of pimples before. Two things. One, you're a human, Blythe. You went through puberty, or at least I would hope so, since you're in high school. And you're telling me Downtown City School District doesn't teach health classes to give you the information that all teenagers go through puberties and get pimples on their face? The second thing is that you're just gonna believe every little piece of information you find on the internet, somewhat what James said in the review. Really, Blythe? Even if the information is on a medical website, all information is posted by someone, which means there is definitely a chance that it could be human error and that it's not the symptoms she's looking for. And another thing that bothers me similar to this is young me thinks Jerryberry is some infectious disease that could be transmitted wireless connections. Like, they're not even in the same house together. How would she be able to catch it?
Yeah.
I've never heard of a disease that can be transmitted through the computer.
Yeah, I can actually agree with some of that. I mean, yes, it does seem a little fishy as to why Blythe would be so surprised to see these red blotches on her face, and it's kind of hard to believe that she hasn't seen anyone with zits before. But I definitely understand where she's coming from, because I'm sure that, as everyone here has done, we've all gone online, we've read something that we think we have, only to find out that it's not even that serious, or it's not what we thought it was, and we all went through this hypochondriac state of mind and kind of blew things out of proportion. So I understand how Blythe was reacting to this, but maybe they went a little bit too far with it.
Agreed. And honestly, Blythe is a teenager. One of the, I guess you could say, rites of passage for being a teenager is get pimples and freaking out about them. So I'm actually kind of shocked that's not the first thing she looked up, because even with most medical websites, they're not going to give you like the rarest, most unknown disease first. They're going to give you common ones first. So in this case, they could say it's just pimples that came up in the shape of not even a perfect triangle. Because to me, perfect triangle, all the sides are even. It's just a regular triangle. So that alone is kind of picked too. But that's just the, I guess you could say, shape perfectionist in me talking.
But then again, it's a perfect triangle, so that might mean something else.
I mean, I would just chalk it up to pure coincidence. I mean, you could see anything that you want, pretty much anything. You could say that something like seeing 3 pimples on the forehead is a sign that Half-Life 3 is coming out. You could make assumptions like that. See, Blythe? I can make crazy assumptions like that too. It's not hard. Yeah, like I said, I'm just shocked that they didn't say pimples were the first thing. I mean, that's what I would chalk it up to. And honestly, that kind of irks me a little bit more than it should. Maybe a little bit cross.
One of my negatives would definitely have to be Russell never noticing prior to this episode that he was pricking the other pets with his quills. I mean, think about it like this. If he's been pricking all the pets for the past, 3 days or something, how is it that no one ever told him that this was happening before, or at the very least, hear the pets yelping out in pain whenever they were pricked? Something about it just doesn't really sound right, or doesn't really add up.
I agree with that.
Yeah, because I think if there's a problem among these pets, I think they could have said this a long time before, those 3 days, or maybe at least gone and talked to Blythe about this those 3 days ago, or maybe they didn't think it would happen too often. Maybe it was a couple little incidents, but I guess judging by the number of bandages each of the pets had, I think it's more than just a couple of isolated incidents.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed. Maybe he did notice before, but he just kept it to himself. And this is sort of the straw that broke the hedgehog's back.
I guess so.
I mean, if you really think about it, I mean, he never was too concerned about it originally, but maybe he had a sort of a revelation. But I don't know. I'm trying to make heads and tails of this.
Yeah, I guess the last negative that I have would be Blythe really believing too much in just one book and thinking that this book is actually her life or something. I mean, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. It just doesn't seem like the Blythe that we've all come to know within, I guess as of this episode, the 2 seasons as of that moment when the episode aired. It just doesn't really sound like Blythe to really take something that's fiction and just start blowing it up out of proportion and thinking that what's happening in the book is happening to her in real life. Yeah, something about it just
I have an answer for this one. Yeah. I think the reason why she did it is because she put herself, like Russell did, in self-imposed isolation, because she believes that, whatever quote-unquote deadly disease she had was contagious and didn't want anyone else to be in the same boat. And she noticed that the character in her book was also in sort of a self-imposed isolation, and figured that she kind of getting a little delusional and started believing that she was this character, which I have to admit, you can relate to a character, but I would never act like them because I relate to them.
And of course, even trying to think that everyone around you are, characters in your book that just somehow came to life in your world.
Again, I kind of think that maybe part of it was that she wasn't really in the right mindset.
Well, yeah,
and I can't see where you're going from, sort of this out of characterness, because Blythe has never been in the past to be a hypochondriac.
Yeah, so I guess I can understand exactly why she was acting the way she did, but I guess maybe one should use their judgment a little bit better.
Exactly.
Because if, she was a younger kid, younger than maybe 16 or 17, or how old she is if she was younger, it's that actually would make a lot of sense. Really, really young kids believe in this stuff, but when you're a teenager, it just doesn't really click that well with me. But again, I definitely understand what Blythe was going through, so I'm not going to knock off too many points on her for that.
Yeah, but, again, this is a case where some angels need to be dropped, because, there are some people who do believe that they are a character or feel like they can relate to a character in a fictional work right down to the smallest detail.
Right.
And acting like them. I'm not going to name any names. You know who you are.
Oh, they know.
That's all I'm going to say. You know who you are.
All in all, I didn't really like this episode, but it's definitely not the worst episode so far. I have a lot of problems with this episode, such as the negatives I mentioned above. Blythe was overreacting way too much, and even in the worst circumstance, not even necessarily related to her disease, but to everyone in general, overreact like that. I find it similar to panicking in a school fire drill. You should stay calm and collected until you know 100% for sure by a doctor or a trained certified professional that you are indeed diagnosed with this disease. The most unqualified person is yourself, because you don't know what to look for and you don't know what's fake or not. Blythe did the complete opposite of what she's supposed to do. I also noticed she was also quick to point fingers at other countries in order to track down how she got this disease. The pets don't help either in this episode. Russell is trying to distance himself from all the other pets so he won't hurt them anymore, yet the other pets keep finding ways to be nosy and selfish and try to get hurt from Russell's quilling. They even went so far as to push him down and step right on top of Russell instead of helping him up to get some snack. That's kind of a jerkish and non-friendly thing to do by the pets. The song in the episode was also very, very forgettable. I honestly had no idea what this song was or there even was a song in this episode until I rewatched it, even after one of my friends reminded me the name of the song. All in all, I give this episode a 4.5 out of 10.
This episode, along with a small handful of others throughout the series, is one I don't rate very high. I agree with a lot of what Snake said in his final thoughts, but allow me to shed some light on what I have to say. There's some entertainment value in all episodes, but for me, I found very little entertainment in this one, if any. I found it very strange how Russell had been pricking the other pets for quite some time, but never noticed until just now. If the pets were right next to him when these incidents occurred, how come he didn't know they were reacting to the pain, or why didn't the pet say something before? It doesn't make sense how this wasn't brought up prior to the episode, but I don't blame Russell for not knowing about his condition. It was probably the first time it ever happened to him, much like how we don't know why we lose our teeth when we're little kids. It's not quite as extreme as Russell's quills, but it still reinforces the same concept, as in we don't know why it happens until someone puts it into perspective. Speaking of extremes, I also found it strange how Blythe really bought into the book she was reading and how melodramatic she made something fake become something real to her. I don't know, something about that just doesn't feel very Blythe-ish to me. The fangirling I understand, but the idea of her really believing her book is matching her quote-unquote life-threatening condition is kind of pushing it. Look, I appreciate the joke they were trying to make here. That is making fun of how crazy teens can get when they read a really popular book. But it's a joke I just simply don't care for. Blythe may be a teenager, but she's proven time and time again to be more than just the stereotypical teenage girl, as other episodes in the past have pointed out. Her not believing in the pets asking for her help and completely shunning herself from everyone around her when they really needed to talk to her just doesn't sound like the Blythe we've all come to know and love. But if you think I'm going to nitpick her Jerry Berry, I think not. While I do agree with Snake that she should know what zits are at this point in her adolescence, I don't think she was completely wrong in how she reacted. I really want to keep this as PG as possible, so the only thing I will say on this is that teens usually freak out about their bodies and think something is very wrong with them even though there's nothing to worry about. Sort of like a hypochondriac, and if you don't know what that word means, well, Google it. She read something online and thought she had something seriously wrong with her, and I'm sure as teens we've all believed in something we've read on the internet. But still, considering Blythe's character and non-stereotypical teenage personality she's had since the beginning, I still think she could have used her better judgment for both her Jerry Berry condition and not believing the pets when they confronted her with a real-life problem. The only memorable parts to this episode that I've been able to find are Zoe's expressions through dancing and that song Blythe was playing in the cold opening. Zoe doing Hammer Time was just too funny for words, and that Annabelle and Fergus song really needs to be made in full length. As I said earlier, there's only some entertainment value in this episode, and despite being able to properly justify some of the negatives in this episode, it's still not an all-around great episode to watch, but I can say it's more entertaining than some of the other episodes I put low on my ranking list. With that in mind, I'm giving this episode a 6.8 out of 10. Very close to being considered average, but didn't quite make the cut.
I'll be completely honest with you guys. I came into this expecting the worst, because I've heard really nothing but negativity about it, or at the very most, a lukewarm reception. And I'm actually leaning more towards the lukewarm reception because in the beginning I was just looking for something to rant and rave about, but I really couldn't find much of anything without sounding like an over-analytical critic, which technically we are supposed to review something, but I was never really one for over-analysis. But anyway, I'll keep mine kind of brief as well. Overall, the episode was pretty bleh. It wasn't good, but it wasn't terrible either. Although I've heard some people call this the worst episode, but to me, it wasn't the worst. I still didn't feel like I wasted 22 minutes of my life. I mean, there were some bits that did kind of annoy me, which we've already talked about, so, bother repeating myself. But there were a couple good moments that, made somewhat like a little bit of gold in a otherwise pile of dirt.
So, before I start just rambling on, I'm just going to give this a 5.5 out of 10. Just really middle of the road for me.
So next week we're going to be reviewing Season 1, so let's see what the randomizer gives us.
Bring on the randomizer!
Alright, come on, big bucks, no whammies, stop!
And the episode is Eve of Destruction!
Oh, yes!
Oh,
Finally!
Yeah!
Good.
You have no
Good.
idea.
Good one.
There are many episodes that I can rank in the best department of Season 1. And right there's another one.
I know, right?
This is a good one, guys. We're gonna definitely...
Oh,
play
we'll be having a
closer.
field day.
And if you know me, one of my favorite pets is Madame Palm, and she shows up in this episode.
Oh, you'll have plenty to say.
I know.
You're just gonna like everything about this episode, aren't you?
Probably.
Yep, say
Yay. So this is I, Ken Snake.
CC Trainor-Ling.
James Conman, BDS.
And this is the League of Pet Shoppers signing out. See you next time.
Peace out, home slices.
Same Pet Shopper time, same Pet Shopper channel.
Due to an unfortunate circumstance, Downloads Bacon was not able to make a review due to a sinus infection. But seeing that he has the only positives to this episode, and the medicine his mom gave him actually got him better the next day, well, he recorded a special review for you also. Hope you like it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Downloads Bacon being amazingly awesome as always. And he's got a very, very tough task ahead of him. He's got to tackle the episode Hedgehog in the Plastic Bubble. I hear wolves howling in the distance. I hear the sounds of nails running down the cobblestone. This is going to be one of the most difficult episodes for me to do for you all. I'm just messing around. I just like my announcer voice. No, of course. Anyway, let's start off with my favorite thing in any episode ever, positives. It just doesn't feel the same without me talking about what makes an episode so great. And I'll start with the characters first to be slightly organized. The character that stands out the most would have to be Zoe in this episode for many reasons. Of course, Cece had mentioned her dancing that she did, but something else that no one really notices or even cares to notice because of the title of this episode is that Zoe is actually the one who takes charge. Seeing how Russell is kind of unable to, it's Zoe who's the one who takes charge and actually has some of the best moments. Something that I really like that I guess no one else cared for is that any of the pets were feeling down, or when Blythe hit her head against the door, she called them darling. And something about that just really, I really enjoyed that. I don't know, it really shows a connection between these characters. Maybe I'm thinking too far into it, but it's really good. I really thought someone else would have noticed, especially with Zoe having more screen time. And actually, since she is with the other pets, of course, no one would actually distinguish that. But to me, it came off even when I first saw this episode. Heck, actually, the best two characters of this episode appear in the first scene with Blythe, which is who I'm going to talk about next, is Minka. Yes, ladies and gentle pets, Minka, my favorite monkey, of course has to be a positive, but in this episode she earned this positive by actually providing a lot of the comedic moments in this episode. Besides Zoe's awesome dance skills, she was able to crack a lot of great jokes in this episode. She had the whole thing where Russell painted himself red and she said that he needed sunblock. Sounds funny. Or the fact that every time a quill would fall off, she would collect them. That's a lot of quills. Indeed it was, poorly sound Matthew Broderick. That was a lot of quills. And of course, let's not forget Minka somewhat defying gravity and kicking the door of the dumbwaiter with a little bit of a rhythm behind it, Life, life, banana, fan for Blythe. Something like that. Minka does it better than me. And of course, let's not forget about that bubble wrap. And Vinny and Sunil were great in this episode. Just look at the scene with them trying to go into Blythe's room through the window. That's all I really have to say there. And of course, Vinny and Pepper were great in this episode also. With good amount of jokes back and forth about, Vinny almost getting his nose burned off by Pepper's smell. That's pretty funny. And another positive that I have is Roger in this episode. Something that no one actually talks about. We all know that Roger's a good dad, and if it wasn't for that meeting that he had to go to, because you know how work is with meetings, then yeah, I'm pretty sure he would have been there for his daughter a lot more. But something that I really love is just how at the end, he's the one who points out to Blythe that she just has pimples, and congratulations on your first breakout. It's, I guess, her sign of maturity, I guess.
Well, ladies and gentle pets, it's negatives time. The first negative I have to tackle down is Blythe and her sweater. In all my days of discussing TV shows, I would have never had this before, but hey, this League of Petshoppers, anything can happen. Not really. Apparently, the creators or the animators overheard a few discussions, probably typing on the internet, by a couple of people, including myself, who asked the question of how do they put on shirt with their heads being so big and their necks being kind of small? And I like how they actually showed this off as a joke. That's what it was. It was a joke. It had to do something with Blythe's sweater not stretching or tearing apart due to her colossal head. Something you guys immediately did not think of is that, in this universe, they know that everyone has giant heads, so they would probably do something special for the neck area. That way it can actually, not expand too much or not expand at all. Probably retractable, or maybe it just has that stretchy polyester, so when they put it on, it still stays on the neck. That, or they probably dress up like Barbies and then they put one arm in and one arm the other and just have it tied from the back. Or maybe that's why we don't see many people change clothes, because they don't want the dread of putting on a different shirt. You know how hard it is to do that there? Jeez. Number 2. I have to actually continue number 2 since it wasn't continued in the original review. So, number 2 is, for me, Blythe's pimples. As Blythe being a human being, she should know about pimples, right? Well, you see, I don't know how old you guys think she is, but she's a little bit younger than you guys are expecting, especially due to her father saying that this is her first breakout. Yeah, she might be in high school, but you see, I've known some high schools that actually have a mix with junior high kids also. And between me and you, I wouldn't actually recommend taking health so soon, because you learn about diseases and unfortunately you get a lot of imagery of those diseases. If you didn't, you're lucky, but I unfortunately, when I took health, had to. Also, I have to say this, is that young me was not worried about Jerry Berry. Young me doesn't know what it is! So yeah, only Blythe knew what Jerry Berry was. Young me just thought he'd get turned into a zombie. Can you imagine that? A disease that's transmitted due to like internet or Wi-Fi? You could just get someone sick due to your hotspot. It's freaking crazy. I'd be afraid of a disease like that too. Jeez. We should call it Jerry Berry if that's actually real. The fact that you guys said this in the review really bugs me. One last thing I would like to say that I really hope not to encounter more of is the "Come on, Blythe, aren't you a human? Jeez." Or "Come on, Blythe, get it together." To me, it sounds very insulting. I mean, she's a cartoon character. I know she's not a real living person, but you gotta at least not sound like a jerk about it. She is gonna make mistakes. Everyone hated her when she was perfect, and now she has faults and you hate her for that too? I mean, it makes her more realistic. It's apparently a lose-lose situation for this show, isn't it? Numero 3. Russell and his quills and the pets not noticing or not telling him earlier. It's no surprise that this has happened before. Not with his quills coming off frequently, or as much as they did in this episode, but they have been poked by his quills in different episodes. And they know that he is a hedgehog, so being poked by the quills are actually just natural. I mean, unfortunately, it's one of, I guess, Russell's negatives. I mean, hey, he's a freaking hedgehog. What can you do? I mean, Pepper basically showed off everyone's faults, and Pepper herself, if she gets scared or something, stinks off the entire place. Zoe will flip over or whatever if she's trying to chase something. And what can you say about Sunil? He was Sunil. And Vinny just destroys the place whenever something doesn't go his way. Penny-Ling will eat everyone's food, and Minka, well, she's hyperactive, so they all have faults. Russell's is his quills. The point that I'm trying to make is that the characters still don't mind each other even with these faults. They'll still hang out with each other and be in the pet shop. And something like this might happen maybe like 1 or 2 days in a row, but never as long as it did here, so that's why they grew concerned. Basically, enough said. Number 4! Yes, unfortunately, Blythe being out of character or going completely demeaned. I've stated this once, and I'll state this again. Please do not use terms that you don't know what they mean. A character flaw and being out of character are two completely different things. Mambo number 5. So for all the boys and girls out there, you know that these characters aren't you, right? They're not going to respond like you respond. Okay? You hear that, boys and girls? It's happy music. it's time for us to wrap this up. I couldn't get everything that I wanted to say without, passing the time limit. So overall, I actually really enjoy this episode. Of course, it comes to a surprise to no one. But you see, I don't understand why this episode has the amount of hate that it does. It's scoring a 2 out of 10, 4.5 out of 10, 5.5, 6, somewhere around those ranges. I don't see this episode actually being something that really deserves this score. It's nothing bad, nothing vulgar, doesn't have a poor message, doesn't have horrible animation. It's actually a fairly decent episode. Actually a fairly good episode, mind you. I like the whole Twilight jokes they do, and I really like how all the characters work well off each other. I liked how Zoe was in charge, Roger was a great dad, and these characters learn something from this, which is actually a whole point of TV shows. And no, they're not idiots. So overall, I'll give this episode a 9.75 out of 10. It's a great episode. I don't really see the hate, but who's gonna listen to me? Really. So I'll be seeing you in the next episode, so thanks, and I'm getting tired. Thanks again.